Hi, I'm here with Anthony MARR, who is a wildlife preservationist, and we're at the CARE Foundation with over 200 wild animals that are currently in sanctuary. Anthony, you have so many names that are attributed to you, so many descriptors: animal rights activist, environmentalist, wildlife preservationist, champion of the Bengal tiger, physicist. Of all those descriptives, which one would you say most resembles what you really represent?
Boy, that's a tough, tough question. There was some that you haven't even mentioned that are kind of derogatory too, but
And?
I would say that I'm all of the above and a little bit more. I really can't pinpoint myself. I mean, I wish I could. So, but wildlife preservation is probably suits a part of me because I've done work in the field. My interest is in wild animals. And there were lots and lots of people who work for domestic animals, cats and dogs and factory farms, and I bless their souls. But my heart is with the wild animals.
You're on a 40-state, 7-month campaign currently. What is your main purpose to that? What would you like to see accomplished during those months in travel?
There are many things that people need to know that they don't. About global warming, for example, there are two major things that they do not know generally, which are more important than anything that's on the table right now. One is methane, and the other one's called latent heat. There's a huge urgency that latent heat is masking. Latent heat is like if you have a pot of ice water and you put it on the stove, and you add the heat to it. The heat that enters the pot will not show in the temperature rise until all the ice is melted. So the initial amount of the heat that goes into the pot will go into melting the ice without raising the temperature. And that's the dangerous part because the Arctic Ocean is like a big pot of ice water. And all the heat that is absorbed into the Arctic Ocean is mostly going to melting the Arctic sea ice and without raising the temperature very much in the Arctic Ocean. Right now there's still some sea ice and the temperature is not really going up that fast, and people are saying, what global warming? But wait till the ice is all gone, and that would be only 3 or 4 years away.
A few months ago, we spoke about this briefly. Camilla Calandrali was here, filmmaker for The Tiger Next Door,
Right.
And the movie focuses on backyard breeders. Can you just state to everybody watching what your policy is on that and where you stand with backyard breeders as far as tigers are concerned?
Well, tigers are wild animals, and they are neither pets nor should they be kept as an exhibit. That is not the way to treat a noble animal. And as pets, I mean, I know that people usually start off with a good love for the animal, but then after a while it becomes an untenable situation. And then what do you do with the tiger? You know, I mean, you can't live with them anymore. They become dangerous. So what do? The best thing that can happen to a captive born or captive wild animal is to go into a sanctuary. But they actually belong to the wild. And when I actually work in India and work with the wild tigers, the sense of spirituality is totally different from seeing a tiger in a cage.
I read that you're considered a controversial conservationist. Why are you controversial?
Well, I'm controversial probably because of my stance on hunting, because the hunters pride themselves to be conservationists. And there were two kinds of conservationists. One is to conserve so that they've got animals to hunt year after year after year. And the other one is, like myself, I conserve for the sake of the animals and for the sake of nature and for the sake of our children. So that our children would still have animals to see and have lush, beautiful habitat to walk around in and for the animals to walk around in. But mostly I do it for the sake of the animals. And they can call me whatever they want to. So if the public calls me controversial, so be it.
Which country would you say could use the most amount of help as far as its laws and wildlife is concerned?
Oh, every country needs tremendous amounts of help. Like China needs to get off cat and dog eating, need to stop shark fin soup, stop using tiger bone and tiger penis medicines, all these. When I go to India, I see the street dogs and the stray dogs, they're not well treated. I've never seen a cat in India for some reason. I don't know. I don't understand it. The cows are skin and bone. And Africa, lots and lots of the big five are still being hunted. Elephants. I can't believe that rhinos are still being hunted in 6 or 7 countries in Africa. Lions, can hunting. There is no sport in it. It's a sport of cowards, I would think. North America is pretty horrendous in terms of the factory farms, trophy hunting, recreational hunting, using bow and arrows to hunt deer. Those are atrocious, absolutely atrocious. I mean, there is no more cruel ways of hunting an animal than with bow and arrow.
What happens to an animal when it's shot with a bow and arrow?
Statistics since the 1970s, which is very consistent, is that the non-lethal wounding rate is about 50%. In other words, if you shoot 100 deer with arrows, 50 wouldn't die. At least not immediately, not for days, sometimes weeks. In a few cases, months. They would have an arrow in their bodies and they would just walk around. It is just totally inhumane.
We are faced with this devastating oil spill now and all the repercussions that we're facing with that. For the average person that has no training in wildlife, what would you recommend that they can do to help?
Really, what we should do is to use this spill as actually a blessing in disguise. It is a horrendous thing that happened, and it would impact on the environment greatly, and we will certainly have to take care of that, but we can use it as a lever to affect new changes. If money is to be poured into technology, it should go into green energy, developing solar and wind and geothermal and tidal and wave. All these takes an immense amount of money, and right now the money is being put into the wrong places.
When did you first feel a calling to do something about this and kind of get on the road and start talking to people about all of this?
Well, my calling comes from the awareness that there are 2 things about society that are very deadly. One is ignorance, the other one is apathy. And when I go to the street and ask people whether ignorance or apathy, which one is worse, the answer usually is I don't know and I don't care. So basically that's the usual state of affairs. So in order for us to be able to solve a certain problem, first of all you've got to be aware of it. But I don't just talk about a problem, I also talk about solutions as well. Because my talks usually end with solutions. Otherwise I send people home with a state of despair.